All right, y'all. Welcome back to another one. Today's video, we'll be looking at 15 most incredible homes in the world. All right, so let's check this out.
The world is full of creative people, and some of them release that creativity in the world of architecture. The result? Some pretty far out and impressive abodes for people who aren't afraid to stand out from the crowd. From a tall tower on a tiny lot to a gas station converted into a family home, here are 15 most incredible homes in the world. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos every day. That being said, let's begin. Number 15. Tubular glass house. Most children will be familiar with the concept of a treehouse, if not by experience, then through the magic of storybooks. But what if the roles were reversed? As in, the tree was in the house, not the other way around. It might seem a little crazy, but that is exactly what Kazakh architect Aybek Almasov aimed to do with his concept of a tubular glass house. Instead of putting the house into the tree, Aybek wanted to incorporate a mature fir tree through the heart of the home. His idea was to offer an escape from city life while incorporating modern-day convenience and style. It would be entirely glazed with a cylindrical structure and would provide 360-degree views of a forest setting. 4 narrow ring-shaped doors would form the foundation of the glass house, along with a white spiral staircase that wrapped around the tree's trunk. The architect believed that each level would represent purification and spiritual enlightenment while harmonizing with the environment. There's a saying about those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, but we now believe that's because it would end up with an insurance claim. Number 14.
Hey, how much would it cost to even live there though, you know?
Treehouse Master. Treehouses are for children. We play in them when we're young, and then one day we just never step foot in them again. Why does it have to be that way? Why can't we continue living that innocent childhood dream? Pete Nelson was determined to keep that nostalgia and whimsy alive and set about using his carpentry qualifications to do it. Tree houses for adults? Not a problem. But this time, there would be no girls allowed sign written in crayon on the door. Pete builds tree houses for adults across the United States and has produced over 11 seasons of his show on Animal Planet called Treehouse Masters. Now he creates over 20 tree houses a year. They feature all the basics of a tiny home, such as a living area and a bedroom, and they even come with kitchen facilities as well. These tree houses, as far as childhood tree houses go, are extravagant. Pete builds them for people who want to relive their youth, or even for people who wish to rent them out to travelers online. No two tree houses are the same, and adults can let their imaginations run wild. Number 13. The Costa Rica Treehouse. Many people are beginning to take a long, hard look at themselves when it comes to sustainable living, but some people take that to the next level by even building homes that epitomize the practice of minimizing their carbon footprint. The rest of us are only just starting to separate recyclables from waste, so way to show us up, guys. Olson Kundig architects from the United States were tasked with building a 3-story home in Costa Rica that was basically going to be a treehouse and playhouse for American surfers who were all about sustainable living.
Wow.
It was built in the jungle near Playa Hermosa Beach and consisted of local teak wood, columns and walls from tree trunks, and
Make you want to like really learn how to build your own house. Like, dang, that is dope. That is so dope.
locally harvested Cenizaro wood. Wooden screens let in daylight and air during the day, while glass windows encompass the second floor. The goal with the build was to not only make use of local materials, but allow the home to remain open and breathe in the semi-tropical environment. The resultant build was astounding. It had an open-plan kitchen and dining area, a bedroom, bathroom,
That is nice,
area,
actually.
and a unique rainwater collection system and solar power. It doesn't get much more sustainable or incredible than that.
Only thing is, like, do we got Wi-Fi, you know? How you gonna, like, with an outlet, you know? Stuff like that.
12.
Still cool.
Cracked open. A home
Cracked
that's
open.
light, bright, and spacious is something that many people want, but in most cases, if you want some light in your house, you better be prepared to install a dozen or so lamps. Most are not built with the indoor-outdoor flow in mind. A family in Amersham, England wanted a house that would rely on nature to provide lighting, and London architects Cullinan Studio delivered. Known as the push-pull house, it was split into sections in an intelligent way that still maintained its Art Deco styling. Glazed gaps promoted an open and bright interior, while the exterior of the home still looked like it was from the 1930s. That was so that it wouldn't stand out too much from the neighboring properties. The cross-laminated timber was split into 4 areas around the home's central space. It had rooms in each corner, bedrooms in each corner, and a ground level with a utility room and study. Stairs provide access to each level, and there was no need for artificial lighting during the day. Look out, world, the housing future looks bright. Literally. Number 11. Simple tiny house. Many people that grow up with very little are determined to get a lot when they grow up. But for one Japanese man, it was quite the opposite. George Soyama, an architect, spent the early years of his life in a Japanese-American internment camp. As you can imagine, he lived with very little. Rather than dream about what he could have, he dreamed about the simplicity of housing and possessions. George and his family lived in a tar paper barracks in an Idaho camp called Minidoka. It consisted of long shed buildings with one window, a stove area, and a curtain between each family. Even after leaving the camp, he lived life similarly. George and his wife lived in a small fishing shack in Seattle before buying an adjacent narrow lot and going for that same simplistic approach. They built their home to be 18 feet wide and all of one color. It has a loft, stairs to a bedroom, and a simple kitchen, bathroom, and living area. From floor to ceiling, George's tiny home is a sleek and simplistic abode.
You know what's crazy? Like, I feel like that's the best way to go. Like, build your own home, you know. But I feel like the government is still trying to figure out a way, you know, for them to make money off of you.
On the
You know how they
points
be.
of living with less. Number 10. Stepping stone.
It's almost
house.
like you can't escape. You know what I'm saying? The only way you can is like really just go off the grid, really. You know, live like even like I'll be seeing people living in RVs. Like that's dope. Some RVs be looking like a whole apartment. It's crazy.
House. The youth of today are often far overstimulated with video games, TV shows, and the general modern-day environment. While you could take away all those stimuli, you could also do what these parents have done and create a house of, well, Zen. UK architecture studio Hamish & Lyons constructed a beautiful stepping stone home for a family with 5 children in Berkshire, England. It would form an extension to a manor house, but in a far more unique style. The firm replaced the 3 flood-prone and underutilized outbuildings and created a natural, calming, and serene abode for a family that had 3 children with an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The house was built on stilts in a body of water with stepping stone access, and it was designed to maximize light, nature, and serenity. Every room in the house featured earthy tones, and it was split into 2 wings with a swimming area in between. The best part is, you never have to travel too far to go swimming. Put on your best pair of swimmers, step off your deck, and dive right in. Doesn't get much better than that. Number 9. Skinny home.
I don't know about that
The
one.
East
I
End
don't
of
like that
Toronto
one.
is an absolutely incredible home, but possibly not for the reasons you think. One phrase to describe it would be, it stands out like a sore thumb. That might be why it sat on the market with a price tag of $3 million for over
million?
100
For
days.
that?
A rare sight in a hot Canadian house market.
Wait a minute now. $3 million for this house right here is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see how it look inside, because $3 million is crazy.
So why
Let
is
me
this
see
house
that.
so incredible? Well, it's
Let's
skinny,
see.
like super skinny, supermodel skinny, almost. If it were positioned on its own, it wouldn't look so out of place, but it's squeezed in between 2 regular-sized homes on Hamilton Street in Toronto. Noted as functionality minimalist with exclusive finishes, it certainly is minimalist. But if you choose to call this narrow home yours, be aware that the neighbors are, in a word, disgruntled. The 4-story home is placed far back from the street with a lack of street appeal and tends to impinge on the neighbor's privacy. Be prepared to feature on an episode of Neighbors at War once moving day arrives. Anyone who buys this home is immediately in their bad books. Number 8. Tiny Tower. It seems crazy for a housing crisis to
gave $3
exist
million out of
when
me
many
for that,
lots
home.
around the
Not
country
gonna lie.
lie vacant without owners
That is crazy.
or abandoned. The problem is many of them are just too
Not even
small
worth
for a
it.
regular home, which means no one seems to want them. Pennsylvania architecture studio ISA has come up with a solution. The design studio has created what is being called the Tiny Tower. It's a 5-story house on a small plot that has a 1,250 square foot floor plan, but a footprint of just 29 by 12 feet. How on earth does that work? Well, it's easy. The Tiny Tower has a wood and steel frame with painted metal and a level for each function. Stairs take the homeowner up to each floor, with every inch of space maximized for comfort and convenience. Windows also make up a significant portion of the front, but it's a little more private on the remaining sides. This tower in a developing Philadelphia neighborhood could be the key to solving the lack of housing and an oversupply of tiny, unwanted lots. Number 7. Cement Factory. Most people would see a rundown old cement factory and think, yuck, knock that down, what an eyesore. But Richard Bofill saw something different. He had been on vacation in Spain when he spotted the abandoned old factory. Instead of ruins, he saw an opportunity. It took him more than 4 decades, but he converted the factory into a one-of-a-kind home that looks more castle than factory. Once he had transformed the interior, which included a cathedral, archive room, a 4-floor studio for his architecture firm, a private residence, and a workshop, he then got to work on the outside. He created a natural oasis to offset his carbon footprint, with lush gardens, olive trees, palm trees, and eucalyptus trees. He then decided to share it with the world by opening up parts to the public. While some parts were closed off, such as the residential part, people could visit, take photos, and admire the architecture and years of planning to make it something magnificent. If he could create a paradise from a cement factory, imagine what he could do with a blank canvas. Number 6. Gas station. If you have a hard time trying to get the automotive enthusiast in your family to stop drooling over cars, then it's best he doesn't see this incredible home in New Orleans. Robert Guthrie decided it would be a great idea to turn an old, abandoned gas station into his home. The result? Absolutely amazing. It retains all the old-style automotive charm with exposed beams and rustic features, but carries on the car-mad theme in a contemporary way. Kitchen cabinetry has car badge handles, and the staircase to the bedroom is the original garage hydraulic lift, albeit a bit less oily and greasy. Everywhere you look, there's a piece of furniture, knick-knack, or home feature with cars on it, with the Goal logo crafted into the floor-to-ceiling tiling and an oil can holder as the toilet paper roll holder. Completing the package is a rooftop deck for entertaining and relaxing, and a Spanish-style exterior that retains old garage signage just to confuse those driving through. Want to know what dreams are made of? An old gas station, that's what. Number 5. A warehouse ware home. If you're ready to jump on the next step of the property ladder, you can build a home from scratch or buy a house that somebody has already built. Or you could do what Alan Branch did and buy an old 4,400 square foot warehouse and turn it into a ware home. It might seem nuts, and it was,
that's smart.
but the results are astounding.
That's actually smart.
The old warehouse now boasts many eye-catching features, like rooftop solar panels, an outdoor entertainment area, 19-foot ceilings, and a second-floor catwalk. The completely guttered warehouse also has touches of elegance, like a 48 square foot granite countertop island, space-saving cabinetry and closets.
That's actually clean. You got a warehouse with a house? That's actually kind of cool. I ain't gonna lie.
And small appliances.
That's dope.
It's hard to believe that a rundown 80-year-old auto store in downtown Panama City would become a functioning family home in as little as 14 months, but that was the reality, and according to Alan, it was well worth the stress. Alan says that not only has the move to Panama City enabled him to build his dream home, but to live a more community-oriented lifestyle. As they started renovations, more and more people would stop by and find out what the next stage would be. Those intrigued passers-by have now become lifelong friends. Number 4. The Hobbit House. Are you tired of the same old boring 4 walls in your home? Then it might be time to book a night or two in a Hobbit house in Lyons, Colorado. The Hobbit House is one of over 20 like it for overnight stays at the We Casa Tiny House Resort. It can become yours for between $149 and $299 per night. The tiny house, while not built for hobbits, can make you believe it was. It has a Hobbit-style door, climbing plants on the roof, shingled siding, and porthole
Not
windows.
worth it.
It's also deceptively deceptively spacious, spanning 170 feet,
It's not
with
worth
a
it.
queen bed, fold-out sofa, shared kitchen and living, and a bathroom with a sink, flush toilet, and
I'm
shower.
good.
The entire interior of the Hobbit house is wood, which offers the real illusion of cabin in the woods. There's a set of stairs that lead up to the bedroom, a beautiful wood chandelier, but also modern amenities for comfort. The real deal clincher, an electric fire and air conditioning keep the elements at bay. As far as Hobbit housing goes, this one would have to be one of the more luxurious. Number 3. Container Home. With a passion for bioclimactic design and mobile homes, Nastasia Sipropoulou decided to think a little outside the box when it came time to design her dream home. In fact, she decided to think outside the container instead. After seeing the surplus of shipping containers at Athens Port Piraeus, Nastasia decided to turn one into her home. She chose a 40-foot container in good condition, added a living roof and solar power system, and set about making it a home. To retain the container feel, she left the end doors on but allowed them to be open to reveal a sliding glass door. She also cut a bathroom window for ventilation and added insulation for warmth. Nastasia was all about future-proofing too, for she added support beams to put on a second floor at a later date. However, given that it's still just a shipping container, if she ever wanted to move, she would merely need to hire a truck to move the container to another location before adding all the stories back together. Time will tell whether this container home becomes a container mansion. Number 2.
That's
Edgeland
so cool though. Like she turned a container into a home. That is kind of dope. I'm not gonna lie.
House. The name Edgeland House is very fitting for this incredible
People
home
be
because it
thinking
definitely
like
has a lot of
people really be thinking of the most craziest stuff, and they turning out to be something great.
edges, and, well, it's pretty edgy. The architects of this abode were very clever with what they built and why. It sits on a rehabilitated brownfield site and is a modern take on a Native American pit house. Instead
This is
of
like this is so crazy how people really build stuff like this though. We got some talented people down here for real, man. They are talented, man. They really take the time to make something so beautiful, you know, to live in.
Instead of relying solely on electric and gas heating like most modern homes, this one uses what nature has to offer, the dirt. The house is built 7 feet into the ground and has an insulative green roof. It stays cool in summer, warm in winter, and relies on a hydronic HVAC system partnered with the green roof for efficiency. You would never know you're not relying on conventional systems for heat and comfort. In architectural and aesthetic terms, this abode is astounding. It acts as an extension of the landscape and is broken up into a living and sleeping quarters. The ultimate goal of Edgeland House is to set new standards for sustainability. It's clear they've achieved that and much more. We're all here in 2020 and this guy's in 2120. Number 1. The Razor
2120.
House. For a house to be one of the most incredible in the world, it doesn't have to be tiny, on wheels, or built out of recyclable materials. It can also just have that wow factor, and the Razor House does. The Razor House was designed and built by a top 100 designer named Wallace E. Cunningham. It sits on a cliff in La Jolla overlooking the ocean and was on the market for around a year for $30 million. Alicia Keys and her husband
30
purchased it
mil.
for $20.8 million, a bargain in the real estate world when you get ocean views. It has a sizable living room, 2 steam rooms, 4 bedrooms, a theater, and even a Ralph Lauren pool table. It also has more windows than walls, with much of the front glazed to maximize the views over the ocean. Can you imagine trying to clean those windows to get rid of sea spray? There's no denying it's one of the most incredible homes in the world. So much so that there's a rumor it inspired
I just never understood why people need these big homes like that. That's what I never understood. Like that's just doing too
Tony
much at that
Stark's
point.
home in Iron Man. Most house-proud people will think that their homes are the most incredible, but they've got nothing on these. Which one fascinated you the most? Have you seen any in person? Also, check out our other cool stuff.
Some cool homes though. I'm not gonna lie. I would say the one I really liked the most was the one with the tree in the home. That was cool. I liked that one a lot. Yeah. All right, in this next video right here, you have this man right here. He's going to talk about the industry, the dark side of the industry. I'm going to just put it like that. All right, but let's get into it.
The hotel industry is a wild experience that helps you understand how disconnected the wildly wealthy are. I've seen the darker side of humanity: suicides, murders, spousal abuse, human trafficking. That shit stays with you for a long time. One weekend, a large group of around 60-ish people, they wanted to purchase out the entire hotel so they could just turn it into a giant orgy. The cost of that property was upwards of $250,000 for 2 nights at a time. That says you've got money to spend. They left a nightmare room. Blood, feces, semen stains. One of my bellboys came up and was like, "I've got a black light, I'm curious." He turned it on, and I remember we looked down and saw the stains. We looked to the sides and saw them on the wall. At one point in the bathroom, we looked up and saw them all on the ceiling, and we were just like, how do you do this? This is not human. Were you on the ceiling?
That's crazy.
I worked as an operations manager for around 10 plus years.
My bad. Hotel industry. My bad, y'all.
I've
But
worked
hey,
in
you got
hotels
it
where
now. You get
the
it now.
average daily rate is anywhere from like $99 and then all the way up to boutique properties where the average cost is around $1,400 per night. In general, the higher up that price value, the more common it is to be treated like you're less than human. The people who are coming to visit you, famous pop stars, Russian oligarchs, they have a private plane that they get in a private vehicle with all tinted blackout windows. Sometimes they have security squads. They'll snap their fingers at them. Very large sense of entitlement where if they approach the desk, they are the only thing that exists to you in that moment. And that's what they came to expect from that level of entering a luxury hotel. Most people who visit boutique hotels are not coming for business. They're there for pleasure. There was a
Wow,
group
for
of
pleasure.
fabulously wealthy
Wow.
individuals. You can definitely get a sense of how much wealth they actually have when they're talking about things like buying a fleet of Boeings in the lobby casually. They would buy out this entire property. They were spending as much as a luxury wedding. And it was basically a giant swingers orgy. You'd have people having sex in the pool, people laying on our wine bars naked, a couple having sex on a balcony in plain view. So you're looking up at it, quite an angle. And every single room would have a different theme and a safe word posted outside of the door. The one that stands out to me was there's a mermaid themed room. It was actually kind of impressive, the details they went, so it was very like under the sea vibe. There was the Wild West room. There was the straight up BDSM room. One couple we had to talk to, while they were naked, they would purposely wait to start having sex until housekeeping wanted to clean the room. They wanted somebody to watch. The day after they had all departed, I got a call from housekeeping saying that one of the showers was busted, and I go take a look at it, and they had hacksawed off the actual shower piece, the shower head, and attached a 4-foot long anal probe hose to it, with multiple settings on the other end. And that was as disgusting as you can imagine. After all of the drama and mental scarring that we put up with for this orgy buyout group, probably between about 30 staff, I want to say we made $20 in tips. I found myself on more than one occasion getting stuck in awkward situations between husbands, their lovers, and then the actual wife. The worst case scenario was husband and wife shared credit cards naturally, and she started seeing the hotel show up on the books, and she stormed in and like slammed bank statements down. It's like, "I know my husband's here. You guys are lying to me. We have to just say, you know what, I'm so sorry, we don't have anyone here by this name." And meanwhile, we could literally hear them having sex upstairs. Apparently, she didn't notice the sounds were familiar to her, which might be a sad statement on their marriage, actually. The problem with working with the fabulously wealthy is that they often assume that the staff is there at their beck and call regardless of what the request is. It was really common for...
It's just crazy, like, that people even have this much money and they able to do stuff like this. You know, you would think they'll be trying to help out people, but they would rather do stuff like this. That is sick. This is so sick.
For the high rollers to approach attractive staff members and essentially just ask them, "Hey, if I pay you X amount of dollars, will you meet me in my room later tonight and knock my brains out?" That's a quote from someone, sadly. We had a very busty, gorgeous front desk woman at one hotel, and someone came down and offered her quite a bit of money in front of management. And at the moment, she naturally declined. I have security cameras in all the halls, and seeing that person sneak out around 2 a.m. was definitely a little suspicious. The most shocking example was an incident where the wedding was around 2 p.m.
You're doing all this just for pleasure, too. Like, this is crazy.
That day,
You got all this money, you just want to do stuff like this.
Slept with the wife and ended up getting caught. It turned into quite a big deal with screaming and shouting and all this stuff. He hid in a bathroom in a supply closet until the heat died down, and then he just walked into the front office and clocked out like nothing ever happened. His mom happened to be in charge of events, so she made sure he didn't get terminated. The demographics of the staffs who work at hotels are usually pretty evenly split. If you're an attractive white person who speaks English quite well, you're probably going to be reservations, front desk, something visual. If you're not of that ethnicity, just because they have an accent and that might not present well to your guests, your most likely bet is that you're going to get placed in housekeeping. If you're working at a decent property, you could probably get $10 to $15 an hour as a front desk host. If you're housekeeping, you're maybe getting 9 to 10.
That's tough. They're not even getting paid.
We were
They're not even getting paid
to handle their housekeeping teams under the concept of divide and conquer, telling them, oh, well, so-and-so's team's much better than yours. You should really try to keep up with the Mexican team. It creates that toxic environment. This prevented the entire housekeeping team from uniting together and presenting concerns. And I saw that kind of model in multiple hotels. In retrospect, I can safely say that the hours they made me work, the wild situations you'd run into, it's a miracle that I never got in a really bad car accident commuting. It slowly burns you out in a way that you can't explain until you're out of it. You just kind of know something's wrong and you're not happy. The biggest thing that the public doesn't understand about the hotel industry is that there are wild things happening behind closed doors every single day. Fabulously wealthy individuals are wild. Everything happens behind closed doors at hotels.
I agree. I honestly agree. Well, that was the hotel industry, right? Wow. I did not know about that type of stuff. But hey, these people are rich. Of course you're gonna do stuff like this behind closed doors and stuff, It's not a surprise. Alright, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video right there. Get me some sleep because I've been up since yesterday. But in peace, abundance, prosperity, and good health your way. Till next time, I will see you guys in the next upload. Peace.